Hi, car and driver. My name is Matthew Davis, and this is Steve Davis. This is our submission for the Horrible Driver web series. And in my opinion, my dad's a pretty horrible driver. And but I'm not sure of what his opinion is. I haven't really asked him. So, do you think you're a good or bad driver, Dad?
I'm a bad driver.
Okay. Why would you say that?
My record proves it.
Okay. Well, you've got a pretty bad record, so can we tell them a couple of stories on
Sure.
how many cars have you totaled?
I've totaled 4 cars that I can count, that I remember. I've been in probably 7 wrecks or more, but my first significant wreck didn't total the car, but I rear-ended a family. Oops, sorry. I just about got hit again. Because I was driving along and I was admiring the fish hatchery truck next to me and didn't see the car stop. They were dropping students off at college in my hometown, and I rear-ended the back of it and ruined their first day of college. That was my first wreck. I was probably 17 years old.
So what's cool about a fish hatchery truck?
It was next to me, driving parallel.
Okay.
My next wreck happened when I was 21, and we're actually driving to nearly where that happened. I was a college student, I was heading up to a dance. We were supposed to be taking tickets at the dance. I was in an AMC Gremlin. We had the radio playing. All of a sudden I heard the sound of a train blowing its horn. Horn is what you call it, horn, whistle,
Yeah.
something. And I realized that the train was coming. There was no stop sign at that intersection. If I was really smart, I could have, and had time, which I didn't, I maybe could have gone really fast, but instead I slammed on my brakes. At that time, there was gravel on both sides of the tracks, and I slid onto the railroad track. The train hit the front quarter of my car and flipped it around 180 degrees, and it ripped off the back end of the car. The second train car tore off the back end of that flat end of that Gremlin. It actually peeled it up to the driver's side. So
There's not much of a back end to Gremlins.
no, but my driver's side door didn't have a dent. Because I was holding on to the steering wheel, I was fine. I crawled out the window, and I had one of my best friends with me, and he actually hit the windshield. And at first I thought he was badly hurt because I could see blood coming down the side of his head by his ear. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's bleeding out of his ear. But thankfully he just had a cut on his head. It was a block from my home, so I crawled out the window and I ran home and ran into the front door, told my mom I'd been hit by a train, and to call the ambulance for my friend, but I had a scratch on my elbow. We went to the dance that night, and my friend had a new part. He had to fart his head on the side.
This is actually the intersection here. There's a stop sign now, probably because of my dad.
Actually, it was right after that.
And he was hit right here on this intersection. Ironically, my wife and I had our engagement pictures taken on this railroad track.
And it's now paved. It's not gravel on both sides. So that was my first really bad wreck. Actually, one that happened probably when I was 18. I was coming down from out of town. We were in a rural area, and I was coming down a hill in a little 1976 Datsun pickup. And I looked ahead, and it looked like there was a really big dog running along the side of the road.
It was a pig.
Actually, there was 2, and then I got closer. I realized it was a pig, and a full-grown pig. I don't know how many pounds they weigh, 300 pounds or something. And it then turned right in front of me, and I ran over the pig and totaled the Datsun, killed the pig, and we pulled the pig off the road. And I was able to limp the car home, but it was an older car, and it had a lot of damage. And then when we called to find out if there was any recourse because the pigs were loose, we learned that Idaho, where we live, is a free-range state. And pigs and cows and horses, when they're loose, have the right of way. So that was part of the reason the car was totaled, I think, because we didn't get any insurance money from it.
And I've been in one wreck with my dad. When I was 17, we picked up a washer and dryer. I'd borrowed my grandpa's 97 Silverado 1500, and had a trailer on there with washer and dryer going out to my aunt's house. They live in out in the country, and the road didn't have any posted speed limit signs, and there's no traffic signs. But we were getting ready to pull into my aunt's house, and my dad says out loud, he's like, they were out of town. He says, I wonder who's watering their lawn for them. And right as he says that, he goes to turn into their driveway, and I look to the right and grab the panic handle on the A-pillar, and we got T-boned by about 55-mile-an-hour Dodge Neon and totaled both vehicles. We were wearing our seatbelts and we're fine, but they weren't, and we're pretty banged up pretty bad, and broken bones and everything. And
that was unpleasant.
That was an unpleasant one. It wasn't as funny as the pig. Well, all of them were unpleasant, obviously, but
that's the one where they entered that car, the one that hit us into.
Yeah, that was in the parade with the crash dummies.
So it was like a couple days before the 4th of July.
Yeah.
But that wasn't pleasant because it was my dad's truck, and my buddy that in the train wreck was slightly injured, but these girls were injured enough that they ended up in the hospital, and so that wasn't very good. Another one that I had was, and again, it's just being inattentive, I'm sure, and that's actually why I'm driving pretty well now. I'm thinking about driving, but we were in Utah going to college, and I was on the way, I think, to the doctor's office to pick up my wife because this boy was about to be born, and my wife was expecting our oldest son, and I ran a four-way stop where I should have stopped, and I was in, I don't know what year the Nova was. It was an old Chevy Nova, but I got T-boned. Thankfully, it wasn't hurt, but that car wasn't worth very much, but it was totaled. Now, my most recent wreck is one that I'm probably the most embarrassed of, other than the half a dozen times I've backed into my son's car in the driveway.
We don't want to talk about that.
But my wife and I were on a vacation in Cozumel, Mexico, and we had our last day, and we had a free day to go snorkeling, and my wife and I had an extensive argument about, do we rent a car for $50 or do we rent a moped scooter? It wasn't a moped, but a scooter for $30, and I won the argument out because we were going to save $20, so we were riding double. I'm not a motorcycle driver, but I figured a scooter would be pretty easy. So as we were driving, we were getting out through the town of Cozumel, heading out to a beach called Palencar, and I decided to get it up to 45 miles an hour. My wife and I were wearing helmets, but we were in our swimsuits because we were going snorkeling, and I hit some gravel. I got too far to the edge, and we ended up tumbling down the highway, an old pavement, kind of gravelly highway. I went off one side of the moped, she went off the other side of the moped, and I had road rash all down the left side of my body, and she had road rash all the way down the right side of her body. And
looked like beef jerky.
It was bad. And so that was not fun because we had to go to the hospital in Cozumel. It cost us $23 for x-rays and stitches and a lot of bandages, and $600 for the moped, which I think they just bent the fender and rented it out again the next night, but later that day. But that one was mostly costly because I had to listen to my wife unendingly tell me why we should have spent $20 more, and that's what she wanted to do. We discovered later that we went to the poor person's hospital. There's actually a hospital that the cruise ships go to another 2 blocks away, but we might have spent a little bit more money then. But that ruined the last day of a good vacation and emptied our pocketbook of at least our vacation money that day. But that was my last, I think, my last wreck other than backing into people.
So the Davis household is fraught with car accidents, repair bills, medical bills, and a lot of totaled vehicles. So that is why I have nominated my dad for the Horrible Drivers web series. And that's it. We're off.